Hi, good afternoon. My name is Chris Lambrecht. I am an application specialist for live sound at Avid. We're here in this lovely demo room at Audio Sales in Sorbolo, and we're showcasing our new expansion S6L platform. So we have a couple of new hardware components which we added to the S6L family, and I'll start off with the 24C. This is a 24 fader control surface with one integrated touchscreen, control module, and a master module. And what's really cool about this version of the software as well, which we released recently as well, is total integration for Waves plugins, right? So the Waves plugins now are an integral part of the system, right? They run on the desk as part of the system. In fact, all you need is a PCI card that sits in the engine, which connects with a Cat5 cable, a single Cat5 cable, to a Wave sound grid server, and that's it. That will take care of your plugins. The plugins itself become installed on the desk itself. So it's part of your automation, your snapshots, your show files. In fact, if you have an old profile show file, you can walk up to this desk, stick in the USB stick, do a file transfer, and all your Waves plugins will translate automatically, including their settings, to the control surface. And I have here a channel with multiple Waves plugins on it. You can control these plugins from the surface. So here's the controls, and there's the controls on the screen, right? I can switch to another channel, just do an internal plugin, switch back to the Waves, and they're just part of my control surface, right? So very cool stuff there. We also have a new stage box. The new stage box is what we call the Stage 32. And what's really impressive about this stage box is that it holds 4 slots. These 4 slots can be inputs or outputs. In the current configuration, it gives you 3 input slots, so 24 inputs, and 1 output slot, 8 outputs. But they can be any combination of digital, analog, Dante card, everything that is compatible with the Stage 64 is compatible with the Stage 32, right? It offers the same connectivity as well. It has dual Cat5 for redundancy. There's SFP slots if you want to run it on fiber. And there's even a BNC, which gives you a MADI split, just like the Stage 64. Gives you MADI at 96K or 48K, top of channel, Y split of the inputs, right? Okay, so workflow-wise, for those of you who know the S6L, know that a lot of it is based on the integrated touchscreen, right? So we have an integrated touchscreen which can display my universe, so I can just attention channels here and bring it on to my attention fader. If I want my kick, there's my kick. If I want my lead vocal, there's my lead vocal. I can bring them up like that. But I can also go into a meters view. In the meters view, it can show me any combination of 8 channels, right? And from there on, same workflow as on the 32D or the 24D, our previous S6L consoles. I can just touch if I want that EQ. That EQ becomes available on the knob modules. Yeah. If I want to go to that compressor and turn it on, I can just do that. If I want to go to a different bank, select that bank first, and those 8 channels are now available, right? Go back to the meters view, select any EQ, any dynamics. If I have plugins, any plugin, or even bring it into a channel view, which gives me a different view. All of that is exactly the same as you know already on the S6L, right? We also recently released the iOS app. Now, the iOS app is a musician's app, right? And what's cool about that app is if I'm doing monitors, and I'll actually pull that monitor mix up on the faders, right? So there's aux 9, and I'll just turn everything off, right? There's another channel. So by default, nothing is in that aux mix, right? If I want to turn the kick on, I turn the kick on, right? So there's your kick, right? If I add the hi-hat, adds the hi-hat. If I want to add the snare and the toms. So you already can tell it filters by aux. If the musician doesn't need the hi-hat anymore, I just switch the hi-hat off, the channel disappears, right? I can add the bass, for example. Here's the bass, right? So it adds the bass there as well. I can control the bass from here, right? Do that right here. Maybe add the lead vocal as well. There's the lead vocal. So the musician can make its own mix. Right? Or the engineer can control that mix as well. Right? So that's the iOS app. Yeah. If we move on to the 16C, there's another component for you, which we recently released. So that was the 24 fader. We now also have a 16 fader. The 16 fader has 16 faders, obviously, one knob module and one master module. Same principle. You select a channel, and once you're on that channel, you can pretty much control everything on that channel, the EQ, or select a different channel, go to dynamics and control the dynamics on that channel. If I have a channel with plugins on it, same thing applies. There's my plugins. If I go to my plugin view, select the different plugins from the encoders, and then just control the plugins from the knob module. Go to the EQ, yeah. And like any plugin on S6L, the layout usually translates to what you visually see on screen as well, right? So you have 2 rows of 3 encoders, 2 rows of 3 encoders. If I go to the 1176, you have 1, 2, 3, 4. Here on the encoders, you will see 1, 2, 3, and 4, which correspond to the actual physical encoders and the software encoders, right? Next up would be the local I/O. The local 16, this is the back of the unit. The local 16 gives you 8 analog inputs and 8 analog outputs and 4 pairs of AES. You will find the exact same I/O on all the consoles except the 16C. 16C has 2 analog in and 2 analog out, but to expand on that I/O or to expand on any of the local I/O on our other desks, you can add this device, which adds 8 additional analog I/O and 8 additional digital I/O to the already existing local I/O that's on your desk. Yeah. The new engine, by the way, is a 112 engine. It provides 112 inputs, 48 outputs, LCR, 100 plug-in slots, 2 HDX cards, plenty of power. Just a downsize from the already existing engines, which are the 144 and the 192, which can add up to a total of over 300 processing channels if you go for the 192, which is 192 inputs and 96 outputs, right? And then the enterprise level, or the biggest console that we currently have in our offers, is this little bad boy. It's a 48 fader, we call it the 48D. Provides exactly the same workflow as the 32D, which would sort of be this size, or the 24D, which would sort of be this size. Main thing here is exact same workflow. Multiple touchscreens, which can access multiple things, like EQs and faders and plugins and monitor workflows. So if you use it as a monitor desk, for example, you can have sense-on faders for all your auxes, have sense-on faders in inputs mode, give me 48 cents available on my faders. Go to a different aux, there's another mix for you, and there's another mix for you, right? So a very, very quick way to work with your inputs, your outputs, your layouts, or your VCAs. Everything is instantly there on this desk. The main idea behind this desk is as well that we will be able to provide a multi-operator workflow, specifically for theater or musical productions where you have an operator sitting on this side and maybe an operator sitting on this side, providing independent workflows, right? However, the main thing behind all of these hardware components is what you see, and I hope this comes across well on video, is what you see on this screen, right? That's the entire S6L family available today. We have 5 control surfaces, we have 3 engines which do the processing and the calculating for you, and we have 4 I/O devices. And all of these devices can speak to each other, right? That is a very important concept. That's why we call it the live sound platform. Literally any component can speak to any component. You can combine a 48D with the smallest engine and the smallest stage boxes, and you can have a 16C. Combine that with 192 inputs, 3 stage 64s fully loaded will give you a way more powerful system than what you potentially put on the 48D, right? Not only is your hardware exactly the same, so these fader modules, these knob modules, the touch screens, the master module, everything is exactly the same, whether it's on this console or on the 24 or on the 16. That means your hardware compatibility is 100%. In terms of spare parts or service, you can take any of these components and interchange them, very often even during a show without interrupting audio. Same goes for the engines. All the option cards in all the engines are compatible with each other. The stage 32 and the stage 64, again, share the same inputs and the same outputs. They're cross-compatible. That's for the hardware. For the software, we have 100% compatibility as well. Whether you work on a 16 or a 24 or a 48 or any of our other consoles, they are exactly the same show files. They provide you with exactly the same sound quality. They provide you with everything compatible in any direction. And that's the main message behind the Avid S6L live sound platform. If you want to check this out, please contact our partners here in Italy, Audio Sales. They have a very nice demo room. They're very well equipped and they know everything about this system. Thank you very much for listening.